My guest tonight is a good old boy whose toughness on the field is simply unrivaled. Since being recruited as a seventh-string starting quarterback by the University of Southern Mississippi, Brett Lorenzo Favre went on to become one of the greatest quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen, retiring with records for pass attempts, completions, yards, and touchdowns. He earned 3 consecutive league MVP awards and started a record-setting 321 consecutive games. But before he was an 11-time Pro Bowler, did you know he got his first football uniform with helmet and shoulder pads when he was 1? Went 10 straight years as a young boy without missing 1 day of school, and completed his first pass in the NFL to himself. Tonight, we'll learn what makes this undeniable icon who he is. A man who once said, life deals you a lot of lessons. Some people learn from it, some people don't. Please welcome Super Bowl champion and Pro Football Hall of Famer, Brett Favre. I guess the first question is, who are you and what have you done with Brett Favre? How about that look you got going right now?
Well, I have to explain the beard. My daughter hates it. I hate it. Now, yeah, I've had stubble over the years, but not a beard.
This is actually trimmed down, right?
It's trimmed down a little bit because our 16-year-old daughter is a good volleyball player. She's got a 28-inch vertical. She broke her foot August 15th. And had 2 screws put in her foot, and that set her back. And so she's fighting her way back. She's done a good job, and she's this close to touching the rim, a 10-foot rim. So, and that's good.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I said, I'm not shaving or cutting my hair until you touch the rim. Now, this is a scaled-back version a little bit. So, yeah, for Joe, I had to trim it back, make it look a little more. You wouldn't have recognized me. Like, why is he interviewing a homeless guy?
Right. I want to ask you about growing up. Your last name's spelled F-A-V-R-E, but it's Favre. You grew up in a town spelled K-I-L-N, but it's pronounced Kill. Kill, Mississippi, second of 4 kids, and this is a deep South situation for the Favre family. Tell us what life was like around the house. So this is like bayou country.
Bayou country, gumbo, the things that we ate is no different than what you would eat in New Orleans. We have Mardi Gras, just like New Orleans does. I could, without traffic, I could be at the Superdome in 50 minutes. So yeah, you know, growing up, we were avid Saints fans, and really the only thing we had to pull for was next year and Archie.
Right.
You know, after the first game, it was always, you know, next year I think we're gonna have a pretty good team. But we got Archie.
So.
Yeah, growing up in Deep South.
I mean, this is like alligators and snakes. And
we live right on the bayou. You walk out the front door of my parents' house, and literally 30 yards, you go down a hill, and there's a bayou. And we saw gators all the time. But that was the way we grew up. My dad was a football coach forever.
Was he a tough love guy? Was he a love guy? Was he a tough love guy?
No, he was tough. He was tough, and it's funny you asked that because just a couple of days ago I was talking to my daughter, the 16-year-old, and I tell her I love her every day.
Yeah.
But for me growing up, it was not so gooey. If my dad ever said, and I know he's obviously not here. I know he loved us. His way of showing it was a little different. I don't ever remember him saying, "Guys or boys, I love you." Had he said that, we would have admitted him. You know,
right.
Mom, something's wrong with Dad. He told us he loved us. Now, he never says that. And I'll tell you a funny story. We were sitting in our kitchen one time, and he's up there for whatever reason fixing the roof. And so we're sitting at the table, and we just hanging out, eating snacks or whatever, and there's a window right above the sink, and you could hear Dad up on the roof. And then all of a sudden you heard this loud crash. We hear boom, boom, and hear stuff breaking. All of a sudden you see Dad come right off the roof, head first. He goes right into the concrete. We run outside. Dad, you know, he's died. He went head first into the concrete. And this is my dad. It's like, Dad, get your ass back in the house. I'm fine. His arm's broken. He's got blood coming down his head, you know. Okay, Dad, sorry. You know, we just checking. And that's the way he, you know, it was like you just learned. There was not a whole lot of compassion. I almost cut my toe off one time riding a bicycle. It just so happens that day, this was summer, my dad was coaching summer league baseball. At the time, it was called American Legion.
Sure.
And we were going to a state tournament in Greenville, Mississippi, which was about a 4-hour drive. And so we were loading up the old station wagon, and I come hobbling into the kitchen, and blood's everywhere. And Mom puts my foot in the sink, and she starts washing. She's like, I think we need to take him to the hospital. He said, we ain't got time for that. Wrap it up. We got to go to Greenville. So, I mean, I nursed that thing for like 6 months, but he, you know, it was like, if that were to happen to me and my daughter today, or daughters or grandson, you know, I'm panicking. We're going to the hospital. Get the helicopter in, life flight. We're gonna, you know, there was no, you know, like, Dad, hey, how about a little compassion?
No.
No.
What's going on in the house?
Mom became a school teacher.
Special education.
Special education. And Mississippi school teachers don't make a lot. They make more now than they did, but they don't make a lot. One of the lowest. And with the coaching, it didn't really add a whole lot financially. Again, we lived modestly. We all played sports. They were always at our games. They never missed games. And I actually started out as a receiver, and it was 5th grade, and it lasted a play. And they throw me the ball, and I jump up and I catch it. I couldn't tell you how many yards. I couldn't tell you anything. All I remember was falling on the ball and knocking the wind out of me. And I cried like the biggest baby. I thought I was dying. You know, you ever have the wind knocked out, you think you're dying. And I thought, I don't want to play receiver anymore. And so later that day, it was like a jamboree type deal. I played quarterback, and I ran for a couple of touchdowns. I don't think I threw any, but I thought, you know, this is pretty cool. I like this.
So is pro even on your mind at this point?
I'll be completely 100% honest with you. My goal, and I mean, it wasn't even a goal. It was like, it's just when I get old enough. I was playing pro football or pro baseball, and that was it. At the time, it was I was going to play for the Cowboys. I was a huge Cowboys fan. Roger Staubach was my guy, and I would say, yeah, you know, I mean, I was matter of fact. You know, I never looked at the odds. I mean, that never mattered to me. I was like, I mean, you think about the odds. I don't care how good you are as a 7th grader. You know, size, ability, whatever. You got to think. Still, it's tough odds. You know, there's a lot of stuff that has to kind of fall in place for you to, and you have to be good. And I never wavered from it. Nothing was going to stop me from reaching my goal.
You're a guy that as a kid didn't miss a day of school.
Oh,
for
the
10
drive
years.
is tremendous. No, I didn't miss a day of school. I never missed practice. I never missed games. Did I like school? No. You know, I wasn't a model student. I just assumed that everyone knows that I was bound and determined that nothing was going to stop me, no matter what. And that's the truth.
Back then, your own dad was your high school coach. Mm-hmm. You find your way to quarterback. Your dad was a hell of a baseball player. Mm-hmm. He's got to know you've got a great arm. Mm-hmm. You've always had a rifle arm. In high school, you guys didn't throw the ball at all. No. 3-4 times a game,
maybe,
if that?
Maybe. Ran the wishbone. Most people don't even know what the wishbone is.
No. So, I mean, a wishbone quarterback, you're athletic, you're running, you're getting hit, and maybe you throw it every once in a while, but your way out is to go to some college and then hopefully move on. At what point do you know you're good? And were you ever in a position in this system, if you want to call it that, to know how good you were as a high school kid?
Probably around my junior year. I knew baseball, I felt like much earlier I had something maybe the other kids didn't. I could play all the positions. Granted, my dad was an exceptional baseball player, and when I first remember walking or doing anything, it was baseball.
I mean, look at this picture, though. How old are you there, would you say?
17.
I mean, you're big. I mean, you're put together. You're filling out a uniform now.
And at that time, I was throwing low 90s. And I say that because I was a little erratic. So you didn't want to be batting against me.
Was it realistic that you could have been Brett Favre?
I think so, yeah. I
baseball
think so.
guy?
I had a full scholarship to Southern Miss to play football and baseball.
But that came late,
It came late. My offer came the evening before the actual signing day.
The reason is nobody saw what you could do. You're kind of this hidden gem down there. Nobody knows you've got this rocket arm throwing a football. You end up at Southern Miss because, in essence, your dad had played baseball there, and he had some connections, and there was somebody that saw you that got up on the table and said, we need to bring this kid into Southern Miss. But this wasn't some big recruiting effort. You were fortunate to get that opportunity.
Mark McHale was the offensive line coach at Southern Miss at the time. Mark McHale's recruiting area was South Mississippi. He says to my dad, he's like, if you want me to sell your son to Southern Miss, I got to see some stuff on film.
Again, he's saying this to your dad.
He's saying that to my dad.
Because he's your coach.
Right.
Like, let him throw the ball.
Yeah. He's like, I tell you what, you come and watch him in pregame, and you'll see he can throw.
Thanks, Dad.
McHale's like, all right, okay. So he came to pregame a few times, and I mean, it was not a structured, like, passing, coordinated deals. I'm like, hey. And I throw it 80 yards. So Mark McHale's like, I couldn't tell you if he's accurate, but this guy can sling it. And I had touch. I really did. But I thought touch doesn't get you attention. Knocking a guy's face mask gets you attention. So I'll show the touch later. I got to break a few fingers now. My philosophy was do something that is going to, wow them and worry about you. You got to get the attention first. So if maybe it's some unbelievable slam dunk, you may not be able to shoot worth anything. Or a 4-1-40, you may not be able to catch a cold. As you know, I mean, if scouts,
make an impression.
If someone can throw it 80, he's worth a shot.
You show up at Southern Miss, you're 7th on the depth chart.
I was last. I say 7th. Several guys got hurt, or were on inactive or whatever. So really, I was probably about 10th. But these guys were not active. So yeah, I was last.
So you're last. You show up there. You're having a good time. You're in college, and the legend is when you finally get a shot against Tulane, you come in, do a Brett Favre, first taste of a Brett Favre comeback win and a big rally, and you do it hungover.
I'd had a couple of beers the night before. Honestly, I had about 2 or 3 beers. So we go pregame warm-ups, and I'm sweating bullets, probably reeked like a beer keg. And right before the end of the second quarter, right before halftime, we're down 17-3, and the head coach, Jim Carmody, looks over at me. And it was really an ugly day, and he's like, you get loose, you're going in. Well, I think I still had a little loopiness in my, because I was like, damn, he wants me to punt. I was a backup punter. I thought, why in the hell would he put me in at quarterback? So I was over there stretching my leg.
Not throwing at all.
Not throwing at all. And I'm as flexible as a 2x4, so I'm over there doing these. And I'm kind of feeling I'm kind of like, a little second wind. I'm going in to punt. I think back now, I'm like, what an idiot. No one goes in as a backup punter. It's not like, no matter if you're up by 50, they don't say, hey, put Favre in the punt. They still do that.
No.
The punter always stays in. And that was probably the bright spot for our team that day was the punter. And so we go out the second half, and I go in, and I'll never forget. And I'm telling you, when I went in at Green Bay, it was the same exact scenario, but the starting 5 offensive linemen at Southern Miss that year were all fifth-year seniors. I was 17 years old. October 10th, I was turning 18. So I was young. These guys were 22. and they were all just offensive linemen, and you know, can be like slobby and sarcastic, especially old ornery ones. It was a small crowd, as it always was at Southern Miss, but everybody was kind of like, you know, yeah, all right, try something new, you know, come on. So I go in the huddle and I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna win the game. And they were like, hey, just shut the hell up, call the play. We ain't got time for this shit. Come on. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm running around, and we came back and won the game. We didn't run shotgun back then. It was option, toss sweep, sprint out throws, very little drop back reading type stuff.
They still don't know what you can do.
They still don't know what I can do. But I think they got a taste of maybe we don't want to tell him anything. Maybe we just say, do whatever it is you do. And I really didn't know. But running the wishbone and the few times we threw, I knew I could throw it, and I could throw it from anywhere on the field. I was not fast, but I could get away from a lot of people. I just had a knack for buying time. And it was funny, the first pass in that game against Tulane was a 7-step drop. And I was not real keen on drops. You know, I was still kind of, okay. My drops were, you know.
Right.
Oh, there comes somebody, you know, one of those. That's the way I drop back. So the first 7, I just remember my coach, Jack White, we watching film the next day, and he says, how many steps drop was that? Is that supposed to be? And I was like, I think that's a 7-step drop. He said, how many did you take? And I said, hold on, back up, coach. 1, 2, 3, 4. I said, that was 9. And I completed the pass. So I thought, man, this is awesome. He goes, when I tell you to run a 7-step drop, run a 7-step drop. I'm like, what's the big deal? I said, I completed the pass. He probably thinking, I don't think this guy gets it. But we can work with this, you know?
Yeah, and that's something that was always kind of there with you, even in the NFL to some
Absolutely.
degree.
I became the starter after that, and I looked at things a little differently. Did I party? Yeah, I partied, but not the night before. That was really the only time I ever did that. But I started all 4 years in college. I threw for 52 touchdowns. I think it was 52. Guys throw for that in the season or less now. And I started all 4 years, so we didn't throw it a lot.
You're drafted 33rd overall by the Atlanta Falcons out of college. Now, look at this.
You want some shorts like that, don't you?
My God, there's so much going on here. This, first of all,
I catch all kinds of hell over this. But everybody who was around then dressed the same way. Had a little mullet.
That's a full-on mullet and fucking jorts. This is Brett Favre world. I am now an Atlanta Falcon wearing jorts.
Check out the cordless phone with the pull-out antenna.
Yeah.
Back then, I don't even know if they do this anymore. So you get drafted. The next day, you fly in to wherever, and you have like a little mini camp. Well, there was 2 flights out of Gulfport, Mississippi that would go to Atlanta. And I was on the first flight. Well, something happened to the flight, so it gets delayed. So I get there right at the end. So I go in, I throw my shorts, grab my helmet, and I run out, you know, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. Jerry Glanville's out there, and he's got his back to me, and he's got his hat on. He's got his dark sunglasses on. Turns around, and he's like, oh, Mississippi. Mississippi. And I was like, hey, coach. Call me Jerry. And he said, what school are you from, Mississippi? I was like, Southern Miss. I'm thinking to myself, he should know that.
Right, yeah.
But I'm from Southern Miss. He said, oh, shit, we drafted the wrong guy. We wanted a guy from Mississippi State. And I kind of laughed, you know, like, I don't think he likes me. And what I hear is Ken Herrock, who was the GM, wanted me. Jerry Glanville did not. I don't think he wanted a guy from Mississippi State. I think he just
didn't want you.
Didn't want me. So he made life miserable for me that year. So I just kind of went into a shell and was like, the hell with it.
You end up in Green Bay. You get traded. This guy named Ron Wolf wanted you when he was with the Jets, but he finally has a shot to get you.
He said, hey, look, we're excited about having you. He said, I just want you to know We gave up a first-round pick for you. That's a lot. But we feel that strongly about doing it. And I couldn't be more excited about having you as our quarterback. I was drafted in the second round. I didn't play. And to be traded for a first-round pick is, I mean, you got to think that I didn't do anything but hurt myself this year. And to think that I would get traded for a first-round pick is like, are you kidding me? So I knew this was a wonderful opportunity. I also knew that they had been down for quite a while.
Well, they had. I think you need to realize that it had been a long time since the great Green Bay Packers were on top in the NFL. So the goal is obviously to win a Super Bowl. But what's immediately in front of you? What is Brett Favre? What do you have to do to validate this deal in your head?
I was a backup quarterback for my first 2 games at Southern Miss and the whole year in Atlanta and the first couple of games in Green Bay. And I didn't like it, to be honest with you. I just wanted to play. It didn't matter how. And I always thought to myself, if I get in, the next guy will never get in. I just knew that. And I knew I wasn't the tallest, the fastest, the strongest, although I had, some of those qualities, but I knew no one could outthrow me.
It's not until you come in because Don Majkowski, the Magic Man, gets hurt. You guys are playing Cincinnati. You're down. It's like the Tulane game.
Absolutely, just like it. 17-3, something like that.
Brett Favre certainly has his work cut out for him today.
Is there a spark of life in Green Bay?
This is the first taste that everybody gets of what you can do. You know it somewhere down deep. I imagine your head spinning when you come into that game.
Yeah.
But you get it done. You get the team down the field.
Wasn't pretty, but I got it done.
And what happened after that was exactly what you said a moment ago. The guy never got the job back.
Right.
The next week starts a run of 297 consecutive starts regular season in the NFL. 10 years of school, 297 starts. You get this thing started, you get the comeback win over Cincinnati, and now you start to feel it, and you've always wanted this championship to happen. What would winning a championship mean to a young Brett Favre?
For me, I felt like more than other guys. It meant really validation. That it was real, it was authentic, that this guy is just not a gunslinger. He's a guy who can win the championship.
And lead.
And that more than anything, I think, over my career has bothered me more than anything when I have heard lack of leadership or whatever. And I haven't heard that a bunch. Where I think my biggest asset or quality is leadership. Production always helps, but if guys really want to kill for you and just are committed to you and love you, as I was to my teammates, great things can happen.
And what leader is doing any more than you if every week you're showing them, come hell or high water, I'm dragging my ass out there to play?
I'm playing no matter what. I'll tackle, I'll hand off. I don't need to throw. I like to throw. I don't need to throw. And I'm going to have fun. And I'm not going to celebrate without you.
In '93, you guys are bringing it together, but you lose in the postseason to Dallas. Mm-hmm. But right? You know that this thing is building.
We're knowing, yeah. We're starting.
You don't know yet.
We're sensing that, first of all, we're here. I mean, this was really a starting with Ron Wolf, Mike Holmgren, new quarterback, additions, subtractions along the way. I felt like if it's not there, I can make it there. I can find a way. There's one example. We played the Bengals several years down the road after I started. We're playing them in Green Bay, and it's right before halftime. We're in field goal range, but we have one play. Holmgren's talking to me, and he's like, all right, look, we're going to run change left, A right, 51, halfback Texas. Mike says, if it's not there, do not throw it. We got a field goal. Do not throw it. I said, okay, Mike, no problem. So as I'm running back on the field, I thought to myself, it ain't going to be there. They're not going to give us that. But I'm going to make it there. So we get in the huddle, and I said, hey, change left, A right, 51 halfback Texas. I said, Mark, run the middle read. It's cover 2. You know, and when I hit 5 steps and hitch, I'm throwing it to you no matter what. So the rest of you, I'm throwing it. And I'm going to throw a rocket. And sure enough, I mean, there was no ifs, ands, buts about it. I took 5 steps, looked off, and I just threw it like right at that. You know, I'm doing one of these. You know, and really what I was thinking about was, damn, it worked.
Right.
You know, I can't believe it. People don't realize sometimes I'm celebrating. I'm thinking, damn, this worked. And thank God, because Holmgren's got to be pissed. So sure enough, you know, go to the sidelines, and he's like, what did I tell you? You know, but it was like, and Mike would tell you if he were here, it was like, you know, I wanted, but damn it, it worked.
You're right.
I mean, good throw. And again, there was times where it didn't work, but I was willing to take that chance because I trusted my ability, and that's a big part of it. And I was bound and determined, and no one was going to stop me, and it worked out. I never looked at things from, boy, I don't know, you know, I don't.
You weren't scared.
No.
During this time, what are you getting from home? Bonita, your mom, is the love giver. What's your dad telling you? Is the word proud? Is the word
he was
proud?
My goodness.
Did he say it, or did you just know it?
He would ride over with me to the stadium, and it was always funny when he tried to give me passing advice. I mean, think about it. My dad, you never threw the ball.
Yeah.
You're telling me how to read defenses? I mean, give me a break. I look back and I laugh, and I have fond memories of even the toughest of times. There were some games I played pretty damn good in, and after the game, he'd ride back to the house with me. And I never went like 28 for 28. But there were some games I played pretty close, you know, and of course, I was used to my dad. He's riding back, and, you know, hell, that wasn't bad, but shit, you can play better than that. And it got to where it was almost comical. Like, I see where this is going. He may have told you when I wasn't around, that damn boy's playing good. You know, I'm really proud of him. He may. But to me, I don't know if that was fear of, if I tell him that, then he's going to kind of just coast. And, you know, I want him to always be hungry for the perfect game. 94, 95, you get to the playoffs. You lose again to the Dallas. They're the Dallas Cowboys. Troy's there. Yeah,
Aikman,
they were good.
It's a great time with the Cowboys. You know, Elway's still around. You're in Green Bay. There's a fun time in the NFL, but you keep climbing, there's Dallas. Climbing, there's Dallas. At some point here, you hurt your ankle, and you have off-season surgery after 95. And what ensues is a seizure after the surgery, and then it becomes known to the world that you have a Vicodin addiction. How did you get to the point where you were addicted to Vicodin?
Well, we've all known or been a part of addictions and things like that, and a lot of times before you know it, it's on you, and that was the case for me. I think the first time that I remember pain and pain management, we played Philadelphia in Milwaukee at County Stadium. Reggie White is on Philadelphia's team. That tells you how long ago. And right before the end of the first half, he tackles me, and my left shoulder is separated. And it was a third-degree separation. It hurt like hell. And the half was over. I go in, and they give an injection in my shoulder. Not uncommon. And it felt fine. When it wore off and I played the second half. When it wore off after the game, it felt really bad. And so I took some pain pills, and I kind of liked them. It made me feel better. It made the injury feel better. And I'm in a business that justifies, for the most part, you know, my ankles hurt, my shoulder hurts, or, you know, I just got tackled, you know, or sacked 4 times. It's hard to argue that. And so I, you know, slowly but surely increased my load. I realized that 2 didn't make me feel the way they used to, so I needed 4. And so on, and eventually this was probably a 3 to 4 year span, so it was not overnight, where I was taking 15 Viking and ES at one time every night. All at one time. I just took them like this.
Is this just to get to sleep? This isn't like to go have fun.
This was now just the way I lived. This was right during, I think I had won 2 MVPs, and we started having a lot of success. And so I stayed up all night. I would sit there and watch TV all night, and then go to practice next day, and I'd lean back into the wall and take a nap. I mean, I was bound and determined to lead this team, but I mean, I was also functioning on maybe an hour sleep. And that's what ultimately the first seizure was a lack of sleep, more or less.
Deanna, who you've known and been with in essence since you were a little kid, is saying it's me or
absolutely
the addiction, and you picked her.
And this is the thing about addictions too. Usually the person who is caught up in it is the last to know that everyone knows. You think that no one knows you're drinking and driving. You think that no one knows you're taking 15 Viking and ES at one time, and you're staying up till 4:30 in the morning, and no one knows, and that you're sleeping in meetings for a reason. You know, you just go about life, you think no one knows. She knew. In fact, she was flushing pills down the toilet from time to time, and I didn't know it. I mean, that just made me work harder to find them. But she was trying to save me, but, you know, ultimately I had to save myself. I spent 72 days in rehab, and I can't say that I wanted to get out way before, and I fought them tooth and nail. I thought I knew it all. Then it was like, you finally bought in. And then I was released, and I was like, yeah. But I never went back to it. And they were right. And thank God that I bought into all the things that they were saying.
But you come out of that clean, and you vow that you're going to win the Super Bowl. This is leading into 1996. Yeah. Not only is the team really good, but is there a renewed focus on your craft, or was that always there?
I was a lean, mean fighting machine at that time. I mean, I was free and clear from all drugs and alcohol. I mean, and it was kind of scary. I thought, damn, I've been pretty good and don't really remember. I'm going to be damn good now that I can remember. I'm as ready to go as I've ever been.
Which leads to Super Bowl 31.
Just show it.
There's Favre.
And this is what it's all about. Winning a championship, the greatest moment of your life. You'll never forget it. They could never take it away.
What old Irv say to you after that one?
He was a little more
upbeat.
A little more upbeat, yeah. And I've seen clips of the game where they show him up in the stands, and that says the story. I mean, he was tickled pink. But
look at this face of this kid. I mean, he looked like a kid. You might as well be running off the field in Kill, Mississippi. I mean, what does this mean to you? This kid that gets drafted, and the coach says, we got the wrong guy. You get traded. You've been through this Vicodin addiction. Yeah. You vow you're going to win the Super Bowl, and you do it.
I always believed in myself. There were always times where that was questioned. You know, you're sitting in rehab in Topeka, Kansas. You're humbled greatly, but there's still hope. There's a second chance. You haven't lost anything. They still want you back. I'm proud of my career, and I wouldn't change anything, good or bad.
Look at this quote that's on the wall. Life deals you a lot of lessons. Some people learn from it, some people don't. I'm sure there have been people in your past that you've seen fail to learn a lesson. You know, it seems like this quote applies at this juncture in your life.
I got so many mistakes that I've learned from, and that's all I speak from. I mean, my experiences, and so, I mean, life, you're always learning. You're always learning. You never get it completely.
You win 3 straight MVPs, but things start to change after the Super Bowl. You guys are still good. You never get to the mountaintop again. Things are changing in the front office, in the coaching ranks. You lose a really big ally. I know you butted heads at times with Mike Holmgren, but he's gone. Now he's in Seattle. Andy Reid was a confidant, somebody who loved you. Big Favre guy. And he's now the head coach in Philadelphia.
You look around and you go, where'd everybody go? And not many guys can say that, you know, because usually you're the ones going.
2003 rolls in. I've lost a parent. I lost my father, who was my best friend and my mentor, somebody I learned what I do from. I knew that he was going to die. A night I went to work, and I was waiting for a phone call. Your father passes away, and you have a Monday night football game against the Oakland Raiders.
All I really thought about was, what has just happened? When you think about it, you're on the biggest stage anyway. And your dad passes away, and so play or not play, that's an issue, and you're not home. Everything's corresponding via phone calls, texts. How, what happened, where, what, I mean, what, just, then you go, hey, God, there's a game that we have to win because we're in this playoff hunt. And, but then you start thinking about your dad, and, just, should I be there, and all this stuff. And so we go out, and Oakland fans can be kind of tough.
I've read that.
They can be real tough, not only to the enemy, but to their own. I knew that. And so, that did cross my mind. Like, I'm not in the mood for, you're an asshole. You don't
want to hear it.
Well, when I go out early, there's this mass of Oakland fans, and literally standing ovation. And as the crowd continued to grow, I had chill bumps. It was an incredible show of respect and
humanity.
Yeah. And I'm like, Oakland? I didn't say it like that, but I'm thinking to myself, you have got to be kidding me. That this is incredible. And so I'm so nervous that I'm going to fail by playing in this game, that it was affecting me. Because of all the games I've ever played in my life, the pressure to play my best in this game has never been higher before or since. Playing in the game was not honoring my dad. Obviously, winning was important, but playing like I had never played before, and that was going to be hard to do, was what I needed to do to honor him. That's the way I felt. And I didn't think I could do it. And so finally I said, just turn it loose, man. Just turn it loose.
So under tremendous emotional duress, Brett Favre goes to work. On a night like tonight, this has to be the greatest place in the world for Brett Favre to be.
He's right.
.399 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's one of the great shows put on by a professional athlete that I can remember.
I think everyone would have gave me a pass. Like, if you don't want to play in this game, Brett, it's okay. We get that, man. You play bad. People would have given you a pass. Like, what do you expect? His dad just died. But I didn't want that. That's not good enough. So I was settling for one thing and one thing only. Play the best you have ever played. And no ifs, ands, buts about it. And I did not know if I could do it. I really did.
But you played that way for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
2005, Ted Thompson had been in the Packer organization, went up to Seattle. Now he's back as GM. And 3 months after he's back, he drafts Aaron Rodgers in the first round. The heir apparent is now lurking. 2007 happens, your last year in Green Bay. You say, I'm done, but you weren't done. Thankfully, because you had a lot of great things still left to do.
Of all the seasons I played in Green Bay, I played 16. It's the best I ever played. I don't even know statistically how it ranks, but it was the best I played considering all the circumstances. And we came close. And that was a painful pill to swallow. At the time, I was not committed to coming back to play, but that didn't mean I was retired or what. I don't want to think about football. Don't ask me, don't. The last thing I want to think is about that game or anything about it. But Mike, and I don't blame him, but, you know, he's slowly but surely, what are you going to do? You think you're going to come back?
You're getting pressed.
It basically got to a point where I said, you know, if you want to know right now if I'm committed to this team, to coming back and playing, I'm going to tell you no, I'm not. And the next thing I know, I was on a plane the next day for a press conference.
As much as I've thought about what I would say and how I promised I wouldn't get emotional. I am officially retiring from the NFL and Green Bay Packers. And
I remember flying home from Green Bay, and I was thinking, damn, that was fast. I mean, my goodness. Then I really started thinking about the finality of it, you know, like,
yeah,
damn, what did you just do? You know, at the time, yeah, I'm not really committed to, you know, if you want me to come to minicamp, but, you know, give me until June and maybe things will change, because I can't go out that way.
But you're under contract, so you want to come back. They've moved on, and the only thing that can happen now is if you want to play, the Green Bay Packers have to trade you. But they're not going to trade you inside the division, or really anybody they have to deal with.
I said, so I see where this is going. I am not good enough to play for you, but I'm too good to play against you. At this point, it was about proving them wrong and getting back, you know, some revenge. You know, I don't know.
But that's human.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's not a big surprise. And I said, I'll go to Tampa Bay. And they said, why would you do that? And I said, I'll tell you why. 4th game of the year, Tampa Bay plays Green Bay, and I'm going to kick your ass. That's exactly what I said.
That's fascinating. So how long after you say, I'll take Tampa Bay, do they go, congratulations, you're a Jet?
I was a Jet.
You have a kind of a stopping off point or a means to an end, in essence, with the Jets. It's a new system. You're learning new stuff.
And played well until my bicep.
And you played well. You proved to everybody that you could still play, especially the Minnesota Vikings. Now you're a free agent. Had you kind of retired again?
Now, again, this is human nature, but I felt like I let Green Bay off the hook if I just retired.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the psychology of the fan.
Yeah.
You end up signing with Minnesota, a divisional rival. Mm-hmm. 2 northern teams, the hated Vikings, the hated Packers. Mm-hmm. Now you're on the other side of that rivalry. You gave 16 years of your life dragging yourself out there, won a Super Bowl championship for Green Bay when they hadn't won one in a long time. You signed with the Minnesota Vikings, and they are burning Brett Favre jerseys. See that was?
A little bit.
You know that's going on.
Yeah.
And on your schedule, because they're a divisional rival, you've got them twice.
Yeah.
First game's in Minnesota. You played great. I know you were nervous going into that game.
Nervous was an understatement. I played better than great. I thought, now, it's over and done with. Going to Lambeau, sure, I want to win, but I'm over the butterflies.
Were you?
Hell no, I wasn't. I was about to do number 2 in my pants, man. I was,
When you walk into that stadium, and maybe more importantly, walk out of the locker room onto the field.
Oh, my gosh. I can't explain to you. I'd never walked out of that tunnel. I'd never walked into that locker room, the visitors' locker room. I mean, I knew I was a Viking now at this point. But it kind of was like just a big smack in the face, and like, this is what you left behind, you know, and this is what it's like on the other side. I always knew it was tough to play in Lambeau. And it was always nice to be on the home side. And, you know, I can honestly say I never really wondered what it would be like to come out of that tunnel, because I kind of like going out of the other tunnel better.
Other way and into the end zone. Touchdown, Percy Harvin. Favre on 3rd and goal. Throws a touchdown to the tight end, Jeff Dugan. 3rd touchdown pass today for Brett Favre.
You had 7 touchdown passes against them that year. This is like kind of legacy stuff, right? I mean, this was part of
and mentally
vindictive.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, you know, there's some big shit on this game. I ain't talking about money. You know,
pride.
You know, I got to prove that I still have it.
Which you did. This wasn't just great work against the Minnesota Vikings. This was a year where statistically it was your highest rated year as a quarterback in
2 years
2009.
prior was the best year I'd ever had, in my opinion, with the Green Bay Packers in my 16th year. That was the best year I had in 20 years. And I'm not, you know, I don't know statistically how it ranks.
It ranks as the best.
Overall, just everything. It was damn good.
And you came that close to going to the Super Bowl. You lose to the Saints in the NFC Championship game.
You know, and it was a game, it was a hell of a game. I mean, if I was watching from the outside, I would say, my goodness, I got to take a nap.
I got to do that game. That's one of the best games I've ever
covered. A hell of a game, and it was
pretty obvious that the message to that defense was knock Brett Favre out of this game.
But your ass ain't knocking me out. They came close. You know, Deanna, after that game, she was at the game, and she said, I think they were trying to hurt you, knock you out. Well, I mean, in football, aren't they always? But her tone was different. Come to find out, there was more to it than that.
There was a bounty on you for that defense from New Orleans. You retire after another year, 2011. You're out.
When I left the Saints game and flew back that night, I thought on that plane the whole way, you'll never have this opportunity again. And I just kind of let it go. And when Hutch and Ryan Longwell and Jared Allen came down, that was his
teammates came down to his home.
Ziggy's plane.
And basically recruited you and begged you to come back.
And the things that they said, I had thought about. Did I want to endure the hits? And I never told anybody at the time. I finally started feeling them, and they stuck with me. You know, for the longest, I think people, including myself, thought I was invincible. And it seemed like, damn, we can't hurt this guy. The last couple of years, they hurt. And I didn't like them. And they stuck with me longer and longer. But I also thought, if I don't go back, I'm going to say, what if I'd have went back? We'd have won it. You know, people would say that. We'd be sitting here talking about,
no doubt.
You know, but the team y'all had you gone back, you guys had a good shot. And that would have drove me crazy. Well, you know that it wasn't to be. We won 4 games or something, and I got beat to hell, and it just was not good. But as much as people want to say, I bet he wish he didn't play that one, I'm glad I did, because I know. Whereas if I didn't, I would have said, you know, I'm always going to regret not going back that last year, because I played outstanding. How could you not say I still got a little left in the tank? And I mean, maybe I had something left in the tank, but it just wasn't meant to be, and that's what I needed to know.
One of the greatest nights I've seen as just a viewer of sports on TV was this past year. So in 2015, when they retired your number at Lambeau Field.
It could not have been better. The weather was outstanding.
Meaning it was like between rain and snow.
It was like, I mean, it could have been a little worse, but it was like only in Green Bay. When I walked out on the field, and there's 70,000, if you were out there, I mean, if you watched from TV, you had to say, damn, that's pretty special.
It was phenomenal.
But if you were there, it was impossible to not feel the emotion. The fans, typical Green Bay fans, man, they showed up.
There's got to be immense peace in that for you at the end of this long.
Absolutely. It's a big relief. But I think it's all said and done, it makes the reunion even more special. You know, it's an imperfect career, just like an imperfect life. But I'm proud of the things I've done and where I am in my life, and I'm okay with that. That's good enough. But it's like, you know, that little kid from southern Mississippi and in the deep South who defied all the odds and not only made it. Are you kidding me? I'm Hall of Fame. I've owned every passing record, not only good, but bad there is to own. And I take pride in both. Are you kidding me? Who ran the wishbone? But hey, it can happen.
You always seemed to be at your best when there was a lot of noise around you, things going on in your life. And yet, since you've walked away, we haven't seen a lot of you. We usually end this show by saying what's next. By way of saying what's next, the family stuff I get. Are we going to see more of Brett Favre going forward?
Well, I'm at a point in my life where I know some of you probably say, well, I see his face on commercials all the time. It's good money. I don't know what else to tell you. So, but
there's no apologizing for that. We're good. It's.
I would love to coach. I think I could do a really good job.
You're coaching kids.
I coached high school kids for 2 years.
Would you
won a state
coach?
Championship. I don't know if I'd coach pros. I don't think I would. I really feel like not all, but most listen at the high school level. And you're getting them before they're corrupted, if that makes sense. They're not making money. They're not trying to get commercials. They're not trying to, they don't think, some think they know it all, but you're getting them raw. And I really felt like I did it. People say, I bet those kids loved it. After about the second day, I'll be honest with you, they were like, Coach is an asshole. I chewed their ass. But I also built them up. And I'm going to tell you the truth. When you play well, you play well. When you could have played better, I'm going to tell you. And I'll put my arm around you and tell you I'm extremely proud of you. So that's
the mix of Irv and Bonita, right? That's you can do better.
And
well, let me
absolutely.
put my arm around you and tell you I love you. We have fun questions to end this
let's
thing.
do it.
You ready? It's kind of a would you rather right away. Would you rather walk across the country or kayak across the ocean?
Walk across the country. I like my feet on solid ground.
You don't want to be in a kayak?
Not across the ocean, I don't.
I'm with you. Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life?
Probably pause.
In life now. You know what I mean? Like, I could see you, if you could pause life in the NFL and you could stop it, and you could evaluate.
Yeah, I know. And there's a lot of ways you can answer that question, a lot of ways you can analyze it. If you change one thing, you disrupt so many others. Maybe by going back and changing one thing, your kids are not born, or you don't know. As much as I would like to have some things changed, there's others that absolutely 100% I wouldn't want changed, and that they may interfere.
Last question, and then we'll say goodbye. What scares you? What keeps you up at night?
No matter what you do, you can eat great, you can exercise, you can take all the vitamins you want, but you get old, and it's been a pretty good run, Unfortunately, it's got to end someday, But that's kind of what I don't know if it scares me, but it's just kind of
lurking.
It's kind of lurking, Some people worry about, I got bags under my eyes, or I don't. As long as I can kind of do what I normally do, I like to do, I can suffer through the crow's feet. I'm not sure if crow's feet are here or here. Me and you, Botox together.
Let's do it. 2 for 1.
Who cares? That was the other thing. People said, something's weird about you. And I'm like, it's because I can't blink? What gives away Botox?
How in the hell are you not on television?
I am right now.
Hey, I'm supposed to remain neutral in the booth. I get the grief for that all over the country because of what I do. But I can tell this audience and anybody watching at home, covering professional athletes that I've been doing for a long time now, over 20 years, I have never covered a more exciting or a more genuine person than Brett Favre. This is a Hall of Famer, a champion, and a role model. And I really believe that. Thank you for spending your time out here. Ladies and gentlemen, Brett Favre.
Thank you.
Thank you.